we'll see how it goes. Tail of the tape, at least on Mega Man 1, it looks like Zoda has a 22, Toad has a 19 and change on the leaderboards.
Yeah, Toad is especially good at these first two Mega Mens. Two probably because of the first big 20, and then I don't know why he decided to optimize one over the other ones, but that's just what he went with. So I'm going to go ahead and try to get these guys synced up on my end, and then I guess I'll get you synced up to me.
And we'll just figure out where it is. They're both going cut first, which means they're going to have to do that magnet zip everyone here probably knows and loves. Mega Man 1, if you follow speedruns in general, you know it's a pile of zips mostly created by the magnet beam that you pick up in Elecman stage, normally trapped behind a bunch of blocks. You need Gutsman's weapon, the super arm, to reach. Though we're speedrunners, so we don't like reaching things the intended way. So both of these players are going to go for that. The biggest advantage of it realistically comes from having the magnet beam in Gutsman stage to do a few extra tricks there. Looks like they're having some trouble with ladders as they're moving onto this screen with these Suzies, these little battery things that kind of hop around in straight lines across the screen.
Grabbing these ladders is so tough. In Mega Man 1 in particular, it's really hard to get your head in between those one-tile gaps.
See, I have them about a second apart at 133, crossing the so-called Health of Shame. So named because if you're really good at this game, you don't really need it. Although, admittedly, when you're a newer player of this game, you should really grab it to make sure the big eye robot here doesn't kill you. They got to the screen with about the same amount of health right before the boss door, and you can already see the difference between Zoda's life and Toad's life.
Yeah, that thing hits like a truck. So I got, they're hitting their timers at 2 just now. 202, 203, 204.
All right, I think I'm 3 seconds ahead then, so I'll just have to hold things off as they get into the Cutman fight.
Luckily, it's pretty straightforward. Though we did see a death to Cutman from enemy. Pretty surprising, actually, in a race just last night. Cutman kind of got away from it a little bit, and of course he was going in with low health thanks to that robot. Skipped the health refill, and it came back to bite him. But no such problems for these two players, keeping Cutman in iframes very handily, and moving on to Elecman stage.
Only real problem there, Zoda getting an extra hit from Cutman, but otherwise a good fight. He's about 3 seconds behind by my reckoning, moving into Elecman stage.
Elecman stage is brutally, mostly vertical here. Mega Man, I think, is a really fun game when you're going horizontal, and it gets a lot less fun when you're going vertical, especially in these early games when these ladders are so slow. Ooh, Toad getting pegged by that robot there. If you're quick enough on your ladder shots, you can get up there, just like Zoda did, just before the lightning hits you. But Toad a little bit too slow.
Zoda had a little trouble earlier, but as you could probably tell from my voice a second ago, Toad just took a fall.
Yeah, these corner jumps are tough, really tough. We actually saw, who was it? Who was enemy racing against? I'm blanking.
I've seen several players take the fall at that corner jump.
Yeah, it was a really good player who ended. Actually, no, it was Darko Mega Darko, and he actually opted to not do the corner jump. He was like, no, screw it. That thing is too. I don't like it, and it worked out for him. All right, we got a zip here. So ZodaNOR trying to shoot and grab the ladder on the same frame. Gets it fairly quickly. You can be stuck there for a while shooting and ducking and grabbing. But wow, Toad gets it much faster. Though ZodaNOR goes for the advanced exit from the zip, and now they're pretty much neck and neck.
Yeah, as much as you can save a lot of time in Gutsman stage by having the magnet beam there, it really all depends on being able to do that zip quickly. Not to mention the soft lock possibilities.
Yeah, that's true. You need to be really careful that you don't walk into that little space where the magnet beam is. You just edge your toe in there and reach out and grab it and pull it into you with your toes. Toad going for the faster strat on that room to break this sort of neck and neck synchronization there. That strategy is pretty hard to do in that room. You need to react really fast when you get off of that ladder in order to beat the electricity. And we'll see how this Electman climbs goes.
Toad has no fear jumping past these Elec beams. I was going to say, he has almost no life left. He has to be very careful not to basically take a lot of damage and die, let alone fall against these beams on the ladder. But Toad just clutching everything out right now.
Yeah, look at this lead. They were neck and neck like 2 rooms from the boss star, and now all of a sudden he's got like a 15-second lead just from these last few screens, really going all out on the Electman climb.
So going by when I see the screen flashing for Iceman, it's roughly 8 or 9 seconds of a lead for Toad, so he picked up 6 seconds in that stage. So here's Iceman stage. If you haven't seen it before, the name of the game here is Don't Fall in the Water. Water physics in Mega Man 1, you just move very slowly, and it looks like Toad is taking a bath. Oh, he's going to go for this zip.
I think he's got the pixel. There it is. So he's wrapping around, he's skipping the Yoku blocks. Very nice to get that. Very precise, though. A lot of these zips are pixel perfect, and you don't really have a great setup. If there's no ladder around, you kind of just got to jump and feel it out.
And Zoda looks like he's not getting that pixel, doesn't like it, so he's going to have to go through this first screen of Yoku blocks.
Oh no, the timer. How do I start the timer further ahead?
I would say edit splits and just set it
Start
to
timer
about
at
8 minutes, and as soon as you see one of the runners hit it, start it. They're at 7:15 as I see it, as Zoda collects the large weapon drop.
Oh yeah, I should
You know,
go.
Toad's already just having the electrifying Iceman fight here. I'm sure most of the viewers already know the select glitch in Mega Man 1. You push select to pause the game. Boss iframes continue to run out while yours don't. It's the famous trick I think a lot of people knew early on in their video game careers of how to beat the rock monster quickly. Just as long as that Elec beam stays inside the boss's hitbox, just keep hitting select and eventually you'll win. Fireman stage for Toad already now. Probably has some of the... It has the most zips, I feel like, if not some of the harder ones. I'm not the Mega Man expert, and I know we have at least a few people significantly better than me at Mega Man 1 in chat, so they'll be correcting me, I'm sure. But we're about to see the long fire zip in a couple of screens. Some of these zips do have setups, so you don't have to be jumping and hoping you get a magnet beam placed at the right location. And here it comes from Toad, though. You want that magnet beam just under the score, and you need to jump and catch the next ladder at pretty much the exact right location to not zip into a pit.
And even if you do, it's possible you hit one of those bullet enemies that are going up and down. And the longer you hold the zip, the higher the chances of that happening. So Toad exiting the zip very quickly, and he's alive, so probably a good move. Just the fact that he executed on it, though, is pretty good.
You see players pushing select there to abuse the iframes to skip that bullet bill a little bit. Whatever the bullet bill is actually named in Mega Man. Whew. Zoda, please.
Yep, going all the way on that one. As Toad wraps up Fireman. I don't think we mentioned you can use the select glitch on enemies, particularly these bosses, to just kind of have your projectile stay inside their hitbox and just do this really quick double tap of select off on, off on, off on to refresh the collision and deal damage to them multiple times with the same shot.
The other nice part of the select glitch, as you see coming up here on Toad's side, as soon as you get hit with Mega Man, you push select, it cancels the knockback, and you can just keep walking along. Toad, though, with that really Iceman stage, more than anything at this point, has built quite the lead. Already through the first screen of Bomb Man stage, and Zoda sitting there finding out how many points he's going to get for beating Bomb Man.
And that's very important.
It's actually slightly important in that the more points there are, the more you have to wait at the end of the stage for it to wind down. This setup.
Yep, not using the ladder. That ladder on the left side of the screen can let you get the exact pixel that you need to do the zip, but it's a little slower to go all the way over there and all the way back, so the fastest thing to do is to do exactly what Toad did. Just throw those platforms out, rely on your muscle memory to put them on the exact right pixel, which he did, and very quickly at that, so Toad is looking really good here.
Toad proving that Bomb Man is just a dud.
Oh.
I'll be here all day. Zoda coming up on the zip screen now.
I'm waiting for him to fall and get mad, and then I can make a short fuse joke. He's backing out. He's going to the ladder, getting the pixel he needs. And there's his zip. Is Toad riding this platform a little bit here? Some players opt to skip that part and just start using the magnet beams, but Toad is fixing to preserve his magnet beams, probably to try to go for some corridor zips at the end of the stage.
I think he actually did try to use a couple of magnet beams early, and he just didn't like his setup. The problem with magnet beams, if you're curious out there, you can't really stand on them over the top of the screen. So there's not a lot of space above you when you start Gutsman stage. So from where Toad was, probably the right move. Don't take the death. Just set up for the safer strat. I'm gonna say he has 8 bars of magnet left, so he has 4 shots at getting quarter zips.
That one I think is just a little bit too high. Next one's good. As Zoda takes a death early on in Gutsman stage.
Oh my. Oh. Yeah, just didn't release the magnet beam before jumping, and
again.
He's still at the start of Gutsman stage. Toad has the grab and is off into Flashman stage in Mega Man 2. I'm gonna look at the replay on the stream. He is playing Rockman 2. So he's on the difficult mode.
That's a bold choice.
Things will take roughly twice as many hits to kill. But he saves, I think it's been quoted at about 10 seconds per weapon get cutscene that involves an item.
Alright, Zoda's through a lot of the scary instant death parts of Gutsman's stage. He's going to be glad to get that behind him. And look for him, even though Toad is quite good at Mega Man 2, look for Zoda to start making up some ground. Zoda has an absolute top tier time in Mega Man 2. It's really his forte. If you look at the leaderboards, it's kind of mostly what he has on there. He's not even really posting times for some of the other Mega Man games.
Zoda has a 27-11 5th overall in Mega Man 2, any percent difficult. Finished in 3rd in the Mega Man 2 tournament, if I recall.
I think that's correct.
He was at the very least top 4, I'm pretty sure. He was very far in the tournament before anything bad happened to him. It looks like he's finally through Mega Man 1. And Toad now in the Flashman fight. The normal runners you see about 7 shots, Flashman's down. He never even gets to the left wall. Difficult just because it takes more hits, basically twice as many hits, whether it's because the enemies have twice as many hit points or you do half the damage. Doesn't really matter, same net effect. Flashman takes a lot longer to beat up this time. Toad, now that I have access to actually hit Control F, Toad's Mega Man 2 time is also pretty good, 28-11. So he's exactly 1 minute behind Zoda on the leaderboard.
I'm trying to sort of parse what exactly that means, because like on one hand that's at the really high level, those kind of runs are they start to become like the 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000 type runs.
Yeah. You start getting into what piece of RNG did Zoda get that Toad didn't.
Right. But also on the other hand, when you're that good, you get very, very consistent at the game too. So I will expect to see Zoda make up some time here throughout Mega Man 2 as Toad heads to Heat second. This is the faster, much riskier route. We're going to see if he gets this item 3 jump. He does. It's really tricky as Zoda heads into the Flashman fight.
Looks like Zoda's also on Rockman 2, judging by the amount of damage Flashman was taking.
Heat zip, no problem for Toad.
Zoda, as he did a lot in the Mega Man 2 tournament earlier this year, putting up Lil Z.
Hopefully he just remembers to take it down. Otherwise, it's totally okay by me.
Norway or the highway, everybody.
Toad's coming in with excellent health here. Pretty much the best you can hope for if you damage boost through that purple guy. Into the Heatman fight, which is a risky fight. I think we're probably going to see Toad do the Heat dance here. Staying nice and close to Heatman. No, it looks like he's going to play it safe. The closer you stay to Heatman... Yeah, he's doing kind of like a hybrid, I guess. The closer you stay to Heatman, the shorter distance he has to charge between all of his attacks, so it's faster. But it's really fast, and it does a lot of damage, and it's a little random as well. 30, 60, or 90 frames is how long he'll wait. And, not going to be able to take one last hit to speed up the final hit.
Well, as soon as he got hit once, he wasn't able to do that.
Yeah. Because the heat charge does so much damage.
Zip very fast.
Yeah, he's flying through Heatman stage here. Threatening to make up some ground already.
In situations like this one, with the Heatman fight and the Heat dance, since a lot of players in Mega Man 2 only runs will do these little hops over Heatman's head to try and minimize how far he goes, to as quickly as possible get him out of his little fire trails across the room. But the 1 through 6, anything like that, you have to start remembering this is a marathon, not a sprint. And you don't want a little thing like 3 seconds lost on Heatman or an attempted 3-second time save to cost you a minute.
Yeah,
from something else very
some kind
long.
Of costly death. So Zoda is, however, super comfortable with this game, with this fight, so he's going to be doing this Heat dance, jumping away just before those 30, 60, 90 frame intervals, and going to be able to give himself time to react to Heatman's charge. Doing a beautiful job as Toad heads into Airman, doing fast air, and he's taking a couple damage boosts, but he's executing on it, and he's not dying. That is the important part.
Good fast air. Zoda did get hit a little early, but made the best of it in that Heatman fight. And he's through. That's actually a 30-second time save on his 1 through 6 splits. Would show a time of actually 2:25.
Like I said, Zoda's focus has really been on Mega Man 2.
Yeah, Zoda, easily one of the best 2 players. Haven't really seen him play too much of the other games, though.
He's the kind of player that you can really watch out for, though. Like, if he starts putting in time over the course of the tournament on those other games, the potential to get a really deadly time is totally there.
Mm-hmm.
Toad heading into the Airman fight. And Zoda not even using
already.
Flash Stopper, or not, what is it? What is it in this game? Flash
Stopper.
It is Flash Stopper, okay.
He's already just making corner jumps. Now goes into the more traditional race.
Wow.
Only 1 damage boost.
Oh.
He's a madman, Mythical.
He's just good. He's very consistent. And he's proving it here today for us as Toad finishes up Airman. Pretty decent fight for the pattern he got from what I saw. Very hard to sneak in shots over some of Airman's tornadoes when he gives you certain patterns.
Yeah, Toad had a pretty good Airman fight, just given he got through it for this category. Rockman 2, again, just with the damage tables being as low as they are, a death on Airman is a very real possibility. Toad looks like he's trying to set up for Biggie. Takes too many hits from the tin cans.
And I don't get to see how his crash zip goes. I've lost him on my end. How about you?
Immediately after I said that, he went to screen 2, had no trouble setting it up. At that point, I turned to look at Zoda's excellent Airman fight. Airman never even started jumping across the room. So they are conveniently staggered right now, with Toad about to enter the Crash Crime, using item 3 to get some extra boosts and maintain some height here, although he takes 1 early fall. Zoda starting the Clashman stage.
I lost Toad for a little bit, and now he's a little bit behind, so if you want to get resynced, Toad's timer is at a 22:03:04:05.
Oh my goodness, I'm at 22:28.
Yep. I just lost him for a couple seconds there.
So your spoiler is that he reaches the Crashman boss door at 39.
That's pretty good. We're watching the climb now, doing a really good job of getting on top of these item 3s. That placement is very particular, but it's going very smoothly for him.
Yeah, he was entering that door just as Zoda was beaming in after his zip. Looks like he also did a screen 2 zip. Maybe it was Biggie. I just didn't see it. So let me know when Toad beams in on your side.
Zoda's also climbing up now. Toad into Quickman stage, beams in now.
Oh my goodness. Hopefully I can hold this back. Only slightly surprised Toad didn't go for the 1-up. Toad, I mean, you have to have a certain brand of bravery to enter the Big 20 races. But as most players here already know, the zips in Crashman and Woodman stage require that you have an extra life, since you actually kill Mega Man as part of them to respawn at the midway point. So if Toad takes any more deaths without picking up a 1-up between here and Woodman stage, I don't think he already picked 1-up. I could be wrong. He will have to pick up another 1-up, and he just switched to item 1 in the dark, everybody.
Players can choose here to keep the lights on or off as they do this zip. Toad's going with lights off. We'll see what Zoda decides to do. Also, we'll see if Toad's going to do this zip here at the end. He is. He is going to be
Oh, he's going for it.
doing the gate crash zip here. If you do not wiggle and make sure you trigger that door transition, you do end up soft locking the game. I'm not sure what tournament rules are with regards to password re-entry to continue from Quick Command stage.
I believe I've already seen a few people put in passwords in Mega Man 2. I didn't always see why, but that's always a popular reason. Zoda actually just stole the one up off the lasers perch. I don't know how far ahead I am right now.
The Thief in the Night. Well, I got him synced with Toad now, so...
Okay. Well, the spoiler you have to look forward to is Zoda also switched to item 1.
All right.
In the dark.
I imagine if he blew it, you would not be able to contain yourself, so I'm going to go ahead and guess that he nails this zip.
Oh, I'm not telling any secrets. I've got a stone face on the other side of this microphone.
Well, he gets the one wiggle. He's in there. As Toad is in Metal Man stage, executing on that metal zip there. The setup
Probably
is...
right. I can hide my emotions.
The setup is a little tricky, but once you're in there, it's a B trigger zip, which is a much bigger window than the A trigger zip. See what he can do on this item 2 fly. So I never would have guessed that Toad would be almost a stage ahead on Zoda halfway through Mega Man 2. But it looks like this is where we are.
So I don't think Zoda's really lost a lot of time in Mega Man 2 either.
No, not really. It's
the only time lost in his splits is probably from not getting Biggie in Crash Man.
Ooh, actually going for that tiny little zip there in Metal Man stage. Not quite getting it. It is very tough. And even if you get it, the reward is not so great. But Zoda's the kind of guy who's going to go for it anyway. Item 2 fly looking good for him as Toad heads into Woodman stage.
Toad's gonna go for the flash stopper. The bright stopper, well, the time stopper, I believe chat has been correcting me too. Now it looks like Zoda's gonna join him in Woodman stage. Players in this tournament traditionally keeping Bubble for last, just so you can keep that Bubble Man beam out as the cutoff, since you can switch to Mega Man 3 as soon as Bubble Man explodes.
Yeah, there's been some a recent 46 Robot Masters specific strategy of leaving air for last to avoid the item get cutscene at the end, since time ends when the Robot Master is defeated and not when the following cutscene plays out.
Baron Haynes.
Yeah.
Air 8 route.
Still some debate, I think, whether or not it's actually faster, but some people are starting to be converted. As Toad gets good wood. And
Good
Zoda
wood.
Going for the dog zip. He gets it.
Zoda also in the middle of good wood right now. No, ripped Toad's stream quality in a few seconds as soon as he starts Bubble Man stage.
Yep. Zoda getting it as well. Scary part's over now that he's grabbed that ladder. He does not kill himself too early, though it looked like maybe it was. I'm not 100% sure exactly where the cutoff is, but he was definitely close. As Toad enters Bubble Man stage here, doing this item 2 fly over these frogs, and he executes on that part very well. Really easy to get knocked off that platform.
it is in a lot of games you start seeing in race categories that aren't full game categories, like little things that players will do that they would not really ever do in a full game category. Going to air 8th just to skip a cutscene for this category is a thing. Zoda having an adventure on screen 1.
Oh yeah, we'll see in a moment. You're still a little bit ahead on Zoda. Not going for the item 2, I see. Just trying to mash down these frogs and damage boost, and with the item 1. Okay.
Yeah, there it is.
Wow, and just avoiding those frogs on the falling platforms too. Gets that platform over that crab enemy. Actually incredibly precise, even though it really doesn't save too much time.
So Toad is into Top Man stage in Mega Man 3.
And it looks like Zoda is going for the other zip here.
I can admit I'm a little disappointed Toad didn't go for the double kill, but I understand. Toad in the Mega Man, not Toad, Zoda in the Mega Man 2 tournament would often go for the double kill, jumping into the spikes the same time he killed Bubble Man.
Incredibly risky maneuver, especially for this setting where there's so much more Mega Man to go.
Toad appears in 26th on the Mega Man 3 leaderboard at 3657. Zoda, no PB submitted.
If I had to guess, I would say Toad has got the advantage in these last 4.
Yeah, really Mega Man 2 was Zoda's strong point to try and come back, and I think he did gain some time on Toad in it. Just not as much as he would have liked. The Iceman zip kind of coming home to roost here. Zoda into Magnet Man stage first. Going Magnet first against Top firsts. This is our first route deviation of this matchup.
Yeah, there's multiple routes through Mega Man 2, 3, 4, and even 6, I think.
Kind of one true route of Starman first.
You need that super arrow.
6, I think most people have settled on
Windman, yeah.
First, but we're seeing a few Flame Man firsts in this tournament. Not a huge difference between the two.
But certainly 2 and to a greater degree 3 has the most variation in routes. A pretty even split, I guess, between players, and going Magnet Top, and I guess a little bit less popular is Gemini nowadays.
I think as soon as Record went back away from Gemini first, a lot of people celebrated. Toad well into Shadow Man stage on my screen at this point. Zoda wrapping up Magnet. Toad, the Magnet and the Top fights are basically the two potential buster fights in this game that you really want to see. As much as Gemini first is a route, that's a really rough fight no matter what weapon you have. Toad, I keep saying Toad instead of Top. But Top and Magnet both take a little extra damage. But really what you're looking at, Top first is faster if you can actually do it, but you have to deal with the eventual parachute screen in Shadow Man stage. And every time you tag one of those guys with Top Spin, Mega Man tends to jut back to the left, just as you're trying to make a jump across a 2-tile-wide pit. It's a very rough section, and as you'll see, Toad actually take some time here to stand still on some of those jumps and make sure he safely makes it. Zoda into Hardman stage, which despite the name is actually not too bad, especially if you know how to use the magnets to take out the bees properly.
Yeah, well, Easy Man didn't go over very well in testing.
Medium Wellman?
Just a piece of steak with legs. Alright, Toad is done with Shadow Man. Finishing with low health, as you typically do, because the nature of the top spin is to trade hits. If you're really precise, you can tag enemies and not get hit. But it's pretty much expected you're going to take some damage on that fight.
Toad into Gemini third as part of this route. Shadow Blades worked very well against Gemini Man. Not the true weakness, but still very useful as a weapon, especially since you can shoot them up while Gemini jumps over you in the first half of the fight. Wow, the double Mega Man 5 reference. That's your spoiler. Meanwhile, Zoda, no real trouble with the Hardman fight. Did have the health to get hit twice to break out of the freeze animation and kill Hardman just a little bit faster. And he'll start playing stages you've seen before, starting with Top Man.
As Toad gets the cutscene skip in Gemini Man stage, as well as the zip. One of the only zips for a while, I suppose. Now that we're out of Mega Man 2, which is Zip City.
Yeah. There's really only 2 zips left after Mega Man 1 and 2. The Gemini zip was one of them. The other one will be the Skull zip in Mega Man 4. Just remember, when you're in trouble, when no one else can help, you can call 1-800-ARMORINE and get through Gemini! Well, you can mostly do it.
So Toad is in Gemini Man stage.
Yeah.
Jumping up to get
Gemini
the
stage, not the most fun of places.
It's awful. This bottom section is and it's awful for that reason. The mosquitoes, the lag that may or may not be there. It's now there because now that he's died, the music has come back. That's gonna lag the game. The cutscene skip.
You have to mind the knockback on these mosquitoes as you're going through this last section. It's very easy to just kind of carelessly get knocked off.
Yeah, these mosquitoes are a very real threat. Taking a moment there to pause. I think he was probably trying to tag it with a Shadow Blade, but just takes the hit.
This should be a huge boon to Zoda.
Absolutely, this is what he needs to get back in here, and then he slips off a block and dies in Top Man stage. So whatever difference got made up there, looks like it just reopened.
Yeah, so now Zoda forced to use a lot of Buster in the second half of this stage. And I'm sure you're seeing it by now.
Oh, the second death, wow.
Zoda takes a second death on those spikes in the Met and Energy room. One of the unique features of Mega Man 3, the first game where you can slide, you may be able to jump out of those slides, but you have to do it, I think it's 8 frames after you start the slide. So on one tile wide blocks, that becomes very difficult. And at least that second death, I think, was due to that. Looks like he actually missed with a hard knuckle in this fight too, which is not going to make it really more of a threat against Top Man. It's just going to make it go longer.
He's not letting it shake him, though. The top section, just before the boss, he did all of the risky things you can do on those platforms.
Toad working his way through Needleman stage. Probably taking a few more hits than he would like right now. And Toad's actually taking the end of the stage a little slowly and a little, I'm not sure I want to call it safer. But he's using some unique strats.
Yeah, these turnaround damage boosts here, like you said, are they're safer in that they're easier to execute, but you're also taking that damage.
I think they're safer to take the damage from the hammer than to get bodied by the Joe.
Sure, yeah.
But certainly what he's trying to do is save the Gemini laser ammo he would be using to take them out.
Getting a rebound shot on Needleman there helped him out quite a bit. It looked somewhat planned. He held onto his first shot for quite a while.
The first shot is probably the easiest one to try and, worst case scenario, get the one bank before everyone is prone and allowed to yell Nadua. Zoda really showing no fear. You're going to enjoy some of these slide jumps later on. I have to at least pretend to be scared.
Yeah, he is rather low on health from those jumping enemies. Not really a good solid way to deal with them with magnets.
Yeah, and that health is very questionable since when you go into the Shadow Man fight, you will take damage from Shadow Man jumping into him with topspin. So that can make it pretty risky. And topspin, if you're not familiar with it, basically takes a point of ammo every time you're touching an enemy, whether or not they have iframes. So very easy to run out of top ammo in that fight. By now, I think you've seen he barely held on to that ammo.
He had that one last tick he needed for that final hit.
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know if the last hit would hurt you if when you killed Shadow Man. And a double kill in Mega Man 3 results in a respawn in the boss corridor, assuming you have an extra life. As opposed to Mega Man 2, where you win.
Yeah, it's a pretty important difference in very, very small edge cases. As Zoda...
Toad in Magnet Man.
Yeah, he's heading
Go ahead.
towards the boss, but Zoda's not using his mag... Okay, here we go. Switching to magnets. This is the reason why you want to come here after Magnet Man, if you can. This screen is awful to deal with, and these magnets make it a lot easier, but Zoda's not really using them to great advantage. They make it really easy to kill those flame-dropping enemies before they drop their flames, and it lets you not break out of your slides, and you can progress through that scene much more smoothly, but things just not working out for him there. Does get the cutscene skip, though, as Toad finishes up the boss fight and moves on to Hardman stage.
Yeah, the biggest advantage to having the top first route for Magnet Man himself is just you have Shadow Blades, which you can fire up when Magnet Man jumps up to the ceiling. You have Rush Jet for the Yoku block section, which makes it slightly faster. Of course, Toad now off to Hardman stage. Zoda not opting to use Rush Marine at all.
Yeah, but he's not going all out either. He's taking time here to make sure these mosquitoes don't do anything bad to him. Unless you're really, really comfortable, I think this is probably the way most people should go. He's getting into the boss fight now.
And the slide jumps in Gemini Man stage are really not for the faint of heart.
Fairly solid Gemini Man fight. Pretty common to take a couple hits. There's just a lot of things going on, and you're more worried about keeping him in iframes than you are about dodging. It's pretty common to trade a couple hits. As Toad slides into the hard man fight. Very solid execution from him.
Hard man remains easy.
Did the timer stop?
Toad maintaining about... I'm going to keep it about a half a stage lead. Zoda continuing to hang around, but certainly at this point they had deaths in Mega Man 3 at the same time. If you're just joining us, Toad in Gemini Man stage, Zoda in Top Man stage. Zoda is performing pretty well for someone who doesn't really have a listed PB of this game. Zoda, at this point, though, invoking the name of his fellow Norwegian. Toad having a pretty good Snake Man stage so far. It's actually going to get high-fived finally by Zoda in Mega Man 3. So you're going to both finish with Snake, then Spark.
Now that these routes have kind of converged here. Well, not kind of. Yeah, they have. They totally have. They have totally converged. We can see now that Toad has pretty much maintained his lead that he had coming in. It was about not one whole stage, so yeah, I think they pretty much managed to hold steady after all the various setbacks they've both had.
Yep. Worth noting that Toad is a couple minutes behind in his splits, whereas Zoda is several minutes ahead of his splits.
Yeah, I think Zoda's recorded times for a lot of these games and for 46 Robot Masters are not indicative of his skill level, for sure. Toad finishing up Snake Man. Pretty easy fight. You get a ton of needles, you just shoot him. Not too much more to it. And you're probably going to be okay on health as well.
4-time posted. Toad has a 39-24, good for 20th on the boards.
Oh, I know what's going on with the timer. I'm accidentally minimizing it, and then OBS is losing it. The timer is still going. It's just freezing on stream. Mystery solved as Zoda heads into the back half of Snake Man stage that oddly enough takes you up into the sky with floating clouds and stuff. I never really thought about it, but that's kind of weird.
It's kind of weird. If you play the Game Boy Mega Man 3, Snake Man stage has a jungle backdrop, like a lot of palm trees waving around. So I wonder if this was kind of meant to be that and they ended up dropping the idea.
They definitely have to start reaching with their robot masters and the corresponding stage themes as you get later and later
Keep an eye
into
out
the series.
For Toad at the end of Sparkman stage here.
Ooh, there it is. waiting a little bit too long there and jumping a little bit too high. That's going to be a death, and it's going to close the gap a little bit between these two guys.
That's going to close, I guess, only a little bit. That doesn't set you back too much. That last screen of Sparkman stage is actually really, really annoying and really hard to do casually. It's one of those screens that's sort of learn the speed strat because it's actually easier than trying to do anything else casually except for Rush Jet itself, which is slow.
Toad feeding Shadow Blades to Sparkman, getting him down, moving on to Mega Man 4, and hopefully putting that death out of his mind.
Toad's going to opt to do Brightman first.
Yeah, this is the much more common route and much more safe than opting for Pharaoh first. I'm interested to see what he's going to do for some of the... Yeah, this lights on, lights off section. He is waiting to see these jumps before he goes, except for the dangerous one. That one, he just goes for it.
So the very first screen, actually, there's you can have a set series of inputs and do it every time. There is a trick to it. And in fact, that last platform, as long as you slide off of it, you'll be in the right spot to jump right away. If you just walk off of it, you won't be, and that's where you can get in a lot of trouble. You just have to remember then to shoot that enemy on the far side.
Zoda scaring us a little bit in that same section where Toad died.
That section will always scare you. That's one of those screens that you have to remember. Mega Man 3 and 5, you can clear a 2-tile wide gap with an at least 1-tile drop with a slide. And those rising platforms, some of them you can just walk off of and you will make it. Meanwhile, Toad, on my side, in the room with the kind of U platforms, there is a mini clip you can kind of do here, but Toad opts to not do it. That's kind of a scary moment, since that jump, if you do it poorly, you can clip onto the platform as part of your jump, which takes it out from underneath you. Zoda also going for Bright first, so they should have the same route through Mega Man 4 at this point. Really, the two major routes are Pharaoh first and Bright first. There's a minor variation on where you decide to do Brightman, since you don't absolutely need it, the Flash Stopper, until Skullman stage, as far as speed strats go. It's certainly useful in Ringman stage otherwise. Brightman, the fight, what you're really looking for, there are a few set hit point values where Brightman will actually use the Flash Stopper, and as long as you can avoid them, he'll never use it. So the easiest way to do that is to hit him with one lemon. If you went Pharaoh first, you hit him with one uncharged Pharaoh shot within the first few shots of the fight, and otherwise only use full charges. And you'll never hit those values.
We actually saw a couple flash stops from someone who, I guess, didn't get a full charge. It's actually a pretty common trap to fall into, especially Mega Man 4, where it takes it just seems to take forever to charge up that buster. And you don't get your full 3 damage. It throws off your desynchronization with those values, and suddenly you can find yourself getting flash stopped and eating up some damage. Toad there taking a moment to make sure he really lines up this jump. Does not want to fall down there because he wants this balloon.
Mega Man 4, kind of notable for the bosses, will always, except for Pharaoh Man, all the bosses body you for 8 damage. Oh, and there's a not so full charge from Zoda eventually in this fight, but it works out. Manages to recover. The other thing I wanted to point out, Toad got it as well. There's a magic pixel on the ground in the center of the room for the Mega Man 4 boss fights. As long as you're standing on it, you skip the animation of Mega Man jumping up and coming back down, before absorbing the remains of the Robot Master. It's a neat little trick that can save, I'm going to say, about 2 seconds every boss.
Which adds up, like, pretty fast when you multiply it over the number of Robot Masters.
Mm-hmm. So the Pharaoh fight, I've seen a few people talk about. It looks very scary. It's actually not. As long as you can kind of time the jump to avoid that charge shot and slide under most of it, you should defeat Pharaoh Man as long as you can keep connecting with your own charge shots. The Bright fight, because Bright Man is his weakness, takes several double-digit seconds longer. You can certainly use it as a failsafe if you went Bright first, but preferably you should really be getting that Buster fight down. Good Pharaoh fight for Toad.
Yeah, making sure he stays close to manipulate those charge shots rather than the jumps, though he did get a couple jumps. And he got caught in that awkward situation where Pharaoh Man is one tile above you. It makes it a lot harder to jump over his charge shots. So he did end up eating one of those, but he had plenty of health at that point to tank the shot and finish the fight.
You saw Zoda a little while ago, maybe he's doing it now on your side, sliding to the end of these head platforms. As long as you slide over, if you're not holding right, Mega Man will not actually fall off the head. He'll actually land right on the edge. You can do some trickery on that screen to basically land on the next platform before it fires its shots. It saves a few frames of lag whenever you do that. Toad, now having used Balloon in a Ringman stage, climb up, has switched over to Pharaoh and try and kill some more of these enemies, reduce more lag. There's a lot of lag reduction strats in this game, if you haven't noticed already.
Yeah, I think starting with Mega Man 3, lag starts to become more and more of a problem. It's definitely a concern throughout the first two games, but I mean, well, also the first one, like, is if you fire a Luckman's weapon anywhere, you pretty much slow the game to a crawl. But lag is more prevalent, I'd say, consistently throughout some of these later Mega Man games, and you have to put more and more attention towards managing that. As Zoda also cleans up the Pharaoh Man fight.
This last few screens of Ringman stage, the platforms that disappear out from under you start disappearing from the other way. So you have to be really careful to make sure you don't get caught in the pit. I believe sliding across them, as long as you don't take a step on them, does delay when they start disappearing. So that you can use that, otherwise you're just making careful jumps. And this Ringman fight can be pretty tricky. Again, bosses will body you for 8, the Ring Boomerang itself does 4, and Ringman is a stage where you take a lot of damage along the way.
Yeah, there are so many damage boosts to skip all those mini-bosses. We saw Toad actually use a strat that involves taking less damage from one of them, and I bet he wishes he did that in a couple other places, because he just ran out of health. And that's a bad thing.
Fun fact about the Pharaoh shot, you can hold it over your head and that won't actually use ammo. Looked like what Toad didn't do from there is pause the game to basically be able to recharge it without using the ammo at all. Fortunately, even 2 Pharaoh shots on Ringman does an obscene amount of damage. It only takes 5 fully charged shots, or 4 fully charged shots and 2, I guess they'd be oranges, not lemons, from Pharaoh Man to take out the Ringman.
They're a little bigger. It's kind of pink. Maybe it's more like a cantaloupe.
Grapefruit.
But it's like grapefruit, yes. So yeah, the fully charged grapefruit.
The second half of the stage.
Ringman is also not random. You can count on him to do the same things. But his the ring that he shoots out is just, it's really fast, and it has a really odd trajectory when it comes back to him. Zoda doing some fun things on these retreating platforms there, but he's safe.
If you watch Chelney's tutorials for the Ringman fight, he actually goes and shows it too. You can basically do a little dance with Ringman to practice dodging him. As much as Ringman probably is the hardest boss in this game if you don't know the exact pattern he uses, and you're just sort of struggling to dodge everything he throws at you, once you actually know the pattern, he becomes extremely easy to just dodge everything.
And yep, we saw Toad take a death, and Zoda takes one hit. He holds on, and that's a pretty big difference, making up some ground on Toad, but he's still got a ways to go. This Toad's already about halfway through Dustman stage. He's on this crusher section here. Very tricky stuff. Not going for the really scary slide there. But oh, going for that one at the end.
That was pretty scary, though.
Yep. Yes, it was.
Yeah, Toad switching to Ring early on. You'll see a lot of the pro players use Ring Boomerang through that crusher section to basically save the pause to switch from Buster back to Ring for the Dustman fight itself. But that just makes that section really scary since, of course, the Ring Boomerang doesn't reach all the way like a Buster shot will across the screen. Zoda in the Rising Block Room is just taking it nice and safe with the Bright Stopper. There are some Pharaoh strats that you saw neither runner use for the first half of the stage that are oh so slightly faster in a few senses, but Bright is by far the safer weapon to use. I might be a little early with this, but Zoda is opting to use the Buster for the Crusher section.
Looks like you're just on point with that. Nice. Buster's, yeah, a lot safer, like you said. You don't have to. Whoa, getting caught in a weird situation there, yeah. But clearing out enough of these blocks that he's okay.
It would have been okay since he had some iframes. Mega Man 4, if you're caught in the wall at all, you're dead, unless you have iframes, which happens to be how the skull zip works.
Yeah.
If you look at Toad's side.
He gets it first try. Nice job.
If you don't have those. If you don't have iframes, and you could do this anywhere in the game where there's a low-hanging ceiling, and you hop on a balloon and you start sliding, Mega Man will just kind of get caught up there. He won't be able to get off or stand up if there's a wall in the way. And as soon as he eventually does stand up, usually when the balloon disappears, Mega Man just gets crushed immediately. But you can use iframes to your advantage in that one real spot there, although Toad did go to pick up the life drop. Might be recommended because, again, this is a marathon, not a sprint. But Chelney will go ahead and tell you, if you have to get that life drop, you've basically given all the time back that you picked up with the zip. Seen Toad now coming up on this last screen of Skullman stage, and has a few really rough jumps in it. Kind of get really close to the edge on a lot of them. Good dust fight for Zoda.
Yeah, you want to try to have at least jumping into that platform from below, catching Toad off guard.
So there's a few jumps across the 46 Robot Masters where it's not that hard to bonk and just kind of fall in.
The deadliest of bonks. So our players find themselves once again this sort of half a stage, 3/4 of a stage apart.
Zoda did go for the zip, but just immediately switched to Bright rather than doing any other balloon jumps in the stage. It's not actually a terrible idea. He gets to save his life and not take any more damage, so.
Is Toad going to be able to avoid the second shield in Skullman? He is. As he finds that magic pixel, and I tab over to actually get these guys updated on their defeated Robot Masters.
Is entirely manipulatable. If you take a step towards Skullman, he will shoot at you. And if you shoot, and I think if you jump, he will jump towards you and then use the skull barrier. The only caveat to that is he cannot do the same thing more than twice in a row. So if you fire at him a third time, he will jump at you. So you basically want to use that to your advantage, knowing exactly how Skullman is going to act and get through the stage quickly. With that, Zoda, I think not quite getting the memo on that, but still having a pretty good skull fight. His splits show -9.5. So this PB might be out of date, or at the very least not updated in a while. Toad plus almost 4 minutes, but still very much in the lead, deep in Dive Man stage. Whereas Zoda's just getting to the start of it.
Dive Man stage, pretty annoying because of the small alter. Like obviously your jumps are wildly different, but yeah, slides are actually affected underwater. Unable to jump out of them at all, and that can trip people up. Zoda taking a death early on in Dive Man. There are far worse deaths you can take, but any death at all is yeah. He's you know, we're getting down to it a little bit here. There's only so much Mega Man left. Yeah.
So those slide jumps at the beginning, I don't think we talked about that yet in this matchup. When you're using the flash stopper, there's a time that it's supposed to last before you have to use it again. But as long as you're sliding, that timer never counts down. So a lot of places, like those platforms at the beginning of Dive Man stage, you want to do slide jumps. For those platforms in particular, not only to preserve the flash stopper duration, but also because you can't even really make some of those jumps without a slide jump. So Zoda paying the price
for trying to go fast.
Yep. While Toad now into Drill Man stage. In most games, there's some sort of vaguely sky theme in the stage. You pick up Rush Jet. Mega Man 4 went the opposite way.
Totally underground, yeah. We didn't talk too much about Toad's Dive Man fight, but it's pretty simple.
Yep.
Dive Man very predictable, and the Skull Shield has a decent hitbox on it.
Mm-hmm. The Dive Man fight, Dive Man will always charge you to open the fight, and from there, as long as you're close to him, he will try and torpedo you again. So you just kind of have to dance around, much like Skullman can't do the same thing 3 times in a row. Dive Man can't do the same thing 4 times in a row, or at the very least, that first dive doesn't count. So yeah, you just have to deal with that one torpedo and make sure you keep hitting him. Dive Man's actually not that hard of a buster fight as a result, although Dust Crusher is a nice secondary weakness. Drill Man, I mean, the end of that stage is another one of those situations you really want to keep the Bright Stopper active, just sliding a lot through it. I think you saw Toad kind of pause for a moment to make sure he wasn't going to have a rock dropped on him in the middle of a jump over a pit.
Yeah, absolutely. That last jump is pretty scary, especially because you have to hit the switch on the way. So he's into the Drillman fight itself here, hoping for a good pattern. Oddly enough, Drillman actually dives, whereas Dive Man does not.
Dive Man drills, in fact.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They messed up there. Every time Drillman dives, you cry a little inside and you lose time that you can't do anything about. So you can kind of, hopefully, maybe get him to not do that by staying close to him, but that's about it. Toad getting a couple dives there, losing a chunk of time. Zoda has a chance to make up some ground if he gets lucky.
Yeah, but it's going to be all RNG. Zoda kind of clutching out a jump here. Yeah, dive man, drill man, probably the biggest source of RNG difference in this run. Mega Man 4 Robot Masters in general, somewhat infamous for being able to waste time for no reason other than they decide to. Between Drill Man's dives and skull barriers from Skull Man, you won't see them in this category, but some of the late stage bosses too. It's like multiple double-digit second bosses.
Totally out of your control.
Yeah, nothing you can do.
Zoda gets one dive there, doing a good job of actually hitting Drillman with this weapon that is kind of squirrely, has a way of circling exactly around the things you want it to hit, but
They
only
are
getting
sometimes
one dive there.
They are sometimes referred to as the vodka missiles.
Yep, perfect.
Robot Masters in Mega Man 4 having been created by a Russian scientist.
Toad is out of Flash Stopper here, late into Toadman stage, but he's sliding enough to preserve it all the way to the boss door.
Toad's Mega Man 5 time. Had it on screen just a moment ago. 35-46, good for 17th. Toad kind of solidly in that just about 20th place average across the games.
Yeah, I think there's one game where he has a 21 instead of a top 20, but otherwise he is absolutely in there.
Again, no time posted for Zoda. Zoda is doing very well in these games.
Yeah. Definitely not the kind of player who, if you think like, oh, I don't even have a time on the leaderboard, you might think this person's pretty new, they haven't really practiced that much, they've maybe only finished a run or two. Zoda is definitely not in that class of runner right now. So just some other reason he hasn't put his times on the leaderboard. Toad having a bit of trouble here in Starman stage. Zoda getting knocked down onto the spikes and getting the refill, the double whammy of time loss.
One of those real moments you're glad that Mega Man's iframes don't run out while a refill is going off. Pretty sure there's at least one game where that does happen.
That would really suck.
No,
You got clipped by a fish.
Toadman is down.
Yeah, he is. Pretty simple fight. He lost some time simply by missing that opening shot to a big jump. But yeah, other than that, you just kind of get in his face and give him the drills. As Toad is dealing with Starman, whose shield is gigantic. It's maybe too big, actually, because you can kind of get your shots in between it if you so desire. But most players make sure they jump around it before delivering their buster shots. You get Starman down.
Close enough to that star shield that the buster shot spawns inside of it. Mega Man 5 having the biggest difference between the true run of the game and the 8 Robot Master category, since you don't have to collect these letters that have been left around for beat. There's a few screens where you basically don't have to go out of your way. You can save. Sometimes it's a little time like in Starman stage, sometimes it's a lot of time like in Stoneman stage.
Zoda catapulting into the spike ceiling in the low gravity section there.
Comes very close to doing it a second time. Not there, but still. Starman stage, one of those ones you have to pay close attention to how long you're holding the A button down. Since if you just keep holding it, you will have a very high jump. Basically, water physics in all but name.
Hopefully he can shake that off, because like we pointed out before, we are on Mega Man 5 of 6. Only so much game left for him to make up this gap between him and Toad. He's got to be on his game here to finish things out. So he's got to be able to shake off things like a death and get back into it. He's approaching the Starman fight now. Toad making his way through Gravity Man stage most of the way there. Starman not shooting.
There are a few movement patterns you can make in the Starman fight that makes it so he never does shoot. Those are really the situation where you want to know how to both get that buster shot inside the shield, although realistically, if you're that close to Starman, he usually will shoot.
Getting hit and losing his charge there.
Yeah. And Mega Man 5 and 6, unlike Mega Man 4, a hit to Mega Man will make him lose the charge. Toad's lead has been extended to a full stage at this point. At this point, you're starting to see some shenanigans with super arrows. Or at least you will very soon. Super arrow being kind of the reason you go to Starman first to pick it up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The super arrow is a speedrunner's dream. I guess wet dream is maybe kind of appropriate given the shape of it. Toad slipping off of it and falling. The super arrow is amazing though. It lets you ascend vertic. Wow, another death from Zoda too.
I know, right? Both of them at the same time. Both on arrows too.
But I promise you, the arrows are really cool, you guys. They don't kill you all the time. You can ascend vertically with them very quickly. You can ascend horizontally. Well, you don't ascend horizontally, but you travel horizontally very quickly by riding them. They stick into walls. They actually damage enemies. They're really cool. And Toad is just having the worst Gyro Man. Not getting on these arrows. Losing all his weapon energy. He's having to detour for a health pickup. It tried to ride that arrow off the top of the screen there. Enemies there preventing him.
I would say that the fact that the super arrow does save so much time is part of the reason Mega Man 5 is deceptively hard to speedrun. It really kind of boils down to putting arrows in a lot of the right places. The arrow takes 2 weapon energy bars to shoot, although you can fire your last arrow with 1. And then it will drain weapon energy as long as you're standing on it. And that's why you'll very often see players kind of walk off the edge, since while you're off the edge, you're not standing on it. And you can basically half your energy usage from riding the arrow at that point, which becomes useful for putting it onto another screen. The problem is it's still a weapon, so if an enemy gets in its way because you put it too low or you're taking too long, whatever the case, bye-bye arrow. So if Zoda can get a clean Gyro Man stage off with some arrow shots, he's going to be able to make up quite a bit of time in that stage.
Yeah, we can already see Zoda is done with Gravity Man and is on his way out. Toad is yet to even enter the boss room.
So this is going to be interesting.
Gyro Man, really simple fight. All you gotta do is make sure you don't get trigger happy and use your, what is it? Gravity something. Flash stopper, we'll just...
It's Flash Stopper.
Yeah. As long as you you don't use it too soon and run out of ammo.
I think Zoda hit the right button in extra time.
Yep. He's gonna go ahead and kill himself in Wave Man stage here. This is Mega Man 5, so hopefully he didn't get too many lives. Looks like he's okay. All those previous deaths actually are now somewhat minimized, as he had to take those deaths in order to move on to the next stage. So whatever bad things happen to Toad, they are now completely forgiven by a menu slip up from Zoda. And worth mentioning, Toad is moving on to Crystal Man stage here, not doing the, I don't know if does this trick have a name? I just call it like the crystal
the
skip.
crystal warp.
Warp. It is a warp, isn't it?
So, yeah, I'm not sure it's faster for him to kill himself there. Waveman stage doesn't really use a lot of weapons. The only real weapon it uses is the super arrow for the skip, and he has it. Waveman, casually back in the day, I think was a good starter robot master. Or I think it might have been the Nintendo Power recommendation. I always did Waveman first until speedrunning was a thing. But he takes that game over. He's in the Gyro Man stage. And if he knows the Crystal Warp, certainly Toad already having some trouble with Crystal Man stage.
Yeah.
This stage is not easy. There are some speed strats that really help out when you're doing the full game category and must play the full stage to get the letter. But I'm just going to go and say it. If Zoda can get through here and, you know, not have another immediate screw up right after I say if Zoda can do this, and he pulls off the Crystal Warp, he's going to pick up just metric large weight units of time.
That's an awesome PC version of of that line. But you're absolutely right. Toad has yet to even reach the boss chamber as Zoda's finishing up Gyro Man. While the warp does skip pretty much the entire stage, it also does eat up a good 45 seconds while you wait for it to take effect. So
yeah, you can go and get yourself a snack, have a drink while you're waiting for that respawn to happen.
So while it does save a lot of time, I don't think it would catapult him all the way into the lead, but we would really have a race on our hands if that's the case.
Given that Toad had the death, had to replay the first section again, my own splits for Mega Man 5 in this category say, oh god, saved 40 seconds when this got added to it. The pros say it takes only 16 seconds, or at least it only saves that much time. But that's relative to have you mastered the stage or the game, or can you just do this seemingly simple setup?
I think I saw what you were reacting to before.
Zoda escapes.
Yep. And you can tell he got the trick by the fact that second guy is running around without his floating ball buddy above his head there. Basically, by dying in just the right way as that guy spawns, Mega Man's death sprites fill up the game's memory, and it has nowhere to put the that little enemy, and for some reason the game tries to put it somewhere else, and it starts overriding memory values, and it just so happens to work out that the memory value of where Mega Man is in the stage gets written to very, very far through the stage, and that's awesome, but unfortunately the value that says like this is how long before you respawn a value in the neighborhood of 45 seconds gets written into there. So you do have to wait quite a bit, but look at how much time he has gained on Toad, who has just died early on in Napalm Man stage. They are now maybe a minute apart.
Getting hit by that little mining device, I don't know what else to call it. Despite the bad stage select, Zoda had a green split in Gyro's Man stage. I'm confused, but I'm gonna have to believe it.
Could be a missplit, could be a repeat of the same unfortunate mistake with a cleaner execution.
It's part of the run. That would be very cruel if somebody told him that in order to do the Crystal Warp, you had to first go to Waveman stage and game over.
You gotta open and close the menu 5 times.
That's a very interesting strat that you're about to see with the Star Shield on Zoda's side. Star Crash, I believe, as it's called.
pretty apt given the way he's just crashing right into these things. Toad playing it safe on these drills here. Just before Napalm Man.
Zoda, though, taking a little bit of damage there. He's not going to have a lot left later on.
Also unable to get on his super arrows. That's a death for Zoda. It's when there's an enemy on top of you, it's really hard to get on the super arrow and get the heck out of there. It speeds up really fast, but there is a period where it doesn't move at all, and when you want to get out of there, sometimes the super arrow doesn't quite go fast enough to get you out of a bad situation. So that is yet another death for Zoda, and seriously hurting his chances of getting back in.
Is that Zoda had just before that taken some time to pick up an energy tank.
Yeah, he'd get all that health and then lose it.
You're just a couple of screens before the midway point of the stage. They are really, throughout Mega Man 5, it feels like nobody wants to win this race.
I think we have some collusion going on. Someone's got money on someone else.
Did Zoda bet on Toad?
And Toad bet on Zoda, and this is the result. Let's try to give them a little more credit than that. Well, I guess maybe by let's just move on. I think both players are not quite happy with where they're at, and it's also one of these things where you make one mistake and you're thinking about it, and that causes you to make another, and now you're thinking about both, and that makes it even harder. Things can spiral out of control a little bit. Hopefully these guys can keep it together. There's still a good chunk of this and a whole Mega Man left afterwards.
Stone Man stage, probably one of the harder ones left. Charge Man stage, just no free ride either. Both of these stages just kind of have awkward enemy placements, long stretches, and lots of enemies in the air just seemingly there to stop you from using the arrow everywhere.
Zoda instantly dying to Napalm Man.
Zoda did not have a lot of health going into that fight. Napalm Man, there are ways to beat him fairly quickly, fairly safely, but with that little health, one accidental hit and it's going to be over.
Yeah, and of course he's fixing to perfectly ace this fight. Sure enough, does not take any damage second time around.
I think by this point you've seen the Toad death as well.
I think so.
Had an arrow, got knocked off of it, fell in. Now he has no more weapon energy for the arrow.
So we'll see if he's familiar with...
Unfortunate, since Toad actually went through Crystal Man stage normally, there is an M-Tank along the way there that you could, in theory, use. He has it to refill your weapon energy on a bad day. This might have been the stage to use it.
He's definitely not as familiar with Mega Man 5 as he is with some of the earlier ones. So I wonder if he's familiar with how to best act in these situations. Things like knowing about that M-Tank might be a little bit esoteric.
Well, he has a full game time, so he should know that he has it and what it does. It's just a matter of having the presence of mind, really, to think to use it in an unusual situation.
Yeah. When he has enough presence of mind to take care of Napalm Man. Or no, this is Stone Man. Using the napalms to destroy Stone Man. I don't know why napalm is strong against solid rock, but it is.
It is an explosive, so...
Yeah, but then it's not really napalm, is it? It's something else. It's Burst Man, I should have called it.
As some famous streamers have said, and this is not me, sometimes the Game Boy 5 is the superior 5.
I should point out at this time, Mr. Cab, noted Mega Man Game Boy fan and speedrunner, and fellow commentator.
I'm legally required to mention Mega Man 5 Game Boy whenever I see 5 NES. So.
I thought you were going to say you're legally required to tell people when you move in that you run Mega Man 5. And
Sorry?
Never mind. Never mind. We got a chicken room here from Toad.
Did Toad dedicate the chicken room to anybody?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe someone can do some investigation.
Toad is saying in a race chat that regular enemy iframes are the worst idea ever.
I think probably related to one of those deaths he had.
True. Mega Man 5, I guess we should explain that slightly, has the notably infamous feature of normal enemies have just a slight amount, but they do have iframes. So you, whereas every other Mega Man game, if you had a turbo controller, you could theoretically stand in front of everybody and just unleash upon them. In Mega Man 5, that doesn't work very well.
What also doesn't work very well is this Power Stone weapon that Toad is using against Charge Man. It is pretty awful. There's the... oh, that's an E-Tank. If you're really good, you can manipulate the Power Stone weapon and the boss to line up and get away with a minimal number of pauses to make those stones go away, because you can't use it again once it's on screen.
This just in, Zoda dedicating the chicken room to the crew.
There it is. They know who they are. Shoutouts to them. Toad too busy focusing.
Yes, Power Stone is probably the worst weapon in Classic Mega. Possibly worse than the Power Bomb. Do not use unless your doctor recommends it.
Side effects of Power Bomb include completely missing enemies, being unable to fire,
loss of lives and or E-Tanks.
So Zoda is making his way through Charge Man, about a stage back still. It's varied a little bit. Half a stage, one stage, stage in a tiny bit. But it's been about one stage between these players ever since Mega Man 2. They've been in this holding pattern, giving each other plenty of opportunities to catch up to the other. And both of them just kind of equalizing, I guess. Zoda doing his best with Charge Man, opting for a lot of these one hits and then pauses rather than trying to manipulate more than one hit. And has, I think, a better fight than Toad overall, who has just got the boat skip in Waveman stage here.
The swag is real. This trick risks a soft lock for a 1 second time save. And when you consider everything that's already happened to these runners in this Mega Man 5, to go for such a trick takes a lot of guts.
That's a really good point. That can speak a lot to where at least Toad's head is at. Toad is usually like pretty cool. He keeps it cool. So when I saw him pipe up in the race chat about, you know, griping about iframes, I had it in my head that maybe he's not in a great place. He's maybe starting to tilt a little, and maybe that's why he went for this boat skip. But it's certainly not affecting his ability to execute on it. So he's still able to get it done here. Hopefully he can continue to do so throughout Mega Man 6. Zoda is moving on through Waveman stage here. Misses that quick bubble pattern the same way Toad did. So he's going to have to wait a little bit. Another missed opportunity to catch up. He's got the 3 arrows out, so he's going for the boat skip as well. And he just fakes it out. Nope, jumping right into the boat. Just kidding.
Toad has a 36-35, good for 17th in Mega Man 6. Zoda again, no time on the boards. He's obviously played these games before.
Predictably starting with Windman is Toad as he moves on to the last of the 6 Mega Man games.
Zoda taking a lot of damage on that boat. He's going to get a little bit of luck from the drop rate of Mega Man 5.
Definitely the most generous of the Mega Mens, especially with the extra lives.
What? Keep an eye out on Toad, though.
Soda could use some more health right about now.
Looks like Toad just missed a slide off a ledge onto one of the big fans, otherwise missed a jump. That's really unfortunate because he was very close to the midway point.
Yeah, that is a massive setback. We were talking about how there's not much game left for Zoda to make up some ground, but it's stuff like that that could make this into a race again.
Toad just gave him a lot of time back. Zoda is furiously mashing through the flash cart to load Mega Man 6.
Well, on our stream, he's still cleaning up the Waveman fight a little bit here.
Oh man, I'm trying to be good, and I think I'm getting it for the most part. But Waveman as a boss fight is not terribly difficult to figure out. It's more survival if you want to use the charge kick weakness. You can slide directly through Waveman and you won't take damage as long as you do completely clear his hitbox with the slide, and as long as you don't crash into any of the water spouts he creates either. The only good thing is that Waveman as a buster fight isn't that bad. It might be a little slow. Toad... Actually, no, Zoda also had an E-Tank, although I think he might have used it in the Charge Man fight.
He definitely did use it during a boss fight.
Zoda racing now, both of them in Windman stage, trying to catch up.
Toad trying to slide as much as he can while charging up these shots on Windman, because I think you build charge a little bit faster while sliding. And it adds up a little bit, though you do need to make sure that you're still... Ooh, and a missed platform for Zoda. Though that is literally just after hitting the checkpoint. The difference between that death and Toad's death. Wow.
So pit deaths in Mega Man 6 have a pretty quick respawn time. And as you said, Zoda actually in the checkpoint room, so he does not go back very far, but still... Like little things like that, you add them up across the whole run. Zoda has a bad stage select. Zoda has a death, even if it costs him 5 seconds, but he's had more than one of those. And really, just once we got past Mega Man 3, there's been a lot of mistakes from these runners. These two are both kind of Mega Man greats, just greats across all the NES games. So just a little surprised to see some of these.
Yeah, they'll be the first to tell you.
Yeah,
this is not the performance they were looking for, and that they are capable of a lot better. So it's on that sense, it's a little disappointing. But on the other hand, at least they're both having poor runs here, and ending up giving us an entertaining race by keeping it close here.
It may well end up being the case that Group B is a little more wide open than we thought.
So Toad is dealing with Flame Man stage here. These flame-spitting enemies are a little random, so you need to be ready to deal with them. And it's pretty tricky, especially with the oil pits and the possibility of them becoming fire pits, which are instant death. It's you gotta think on your feet a little bit, and also you're dealing with Mega Man 6 now, so jumping out of slides is not a thing. You have to cancel them by tapping left, assuming you're sliding to the right, which you usually are. So you end up with a sort of left-right A input just to jump out of a slide. And Toad's timer is running, but his stream is not.
Oh boy.
Is this some kind of...
It's the same over here. No, I've got his chat open. They're starting to talk a little bit, but I'm not seeing anything from Toad. He did finally reset, or at least there's no signal. It looks like he reset his capture card because I'm actually seeing a password screen now.
Okay.
He is split on Flame Man, and he is going to Blizzard Man. So in 20 seconds, you guys should start to see that.
All right. Hopefully the password isn't...
That's...
Okay. Oh, you meant in-game. I thought you meant some kind of
yes.
capture card password, and I was like, I don't know why there'd be password, but still that sounds important. I don't want to show it on stream. Okay. So
no.
He is... Everything is okay. Though
Yes,
I think it's fair to say he did lose some time in there somewhere.
That was a significant amount of time because the Flame Man fight is not that difficult, especially with a weakness. So, I don't know if he has like one of those standard things you see from some players where just like resetting the capture will fix everything, or what. Although I guess, seeing as we didn't see the fight or the weapon get screen, it's possible he was fixing that all through the weapon absorption. He might not have lost as much time as we think. That said, seeing the password screen for any length of time is a time loss. Zoda making his way to the end of Flame Man stage here. How's that fight looking for you?
He's throwing those Windman's weapon at him from pretty far away, playing it very safe. And he gets him down no problem, as Toad is making his way through Blizzard Man stage, really low on health as he gets to this sub area, and struggling a little bit with the arc to Flame Man shots. I was actually caught saying that it actually has a decent trajectory to it, you know, not troublesome at all. And Colonel Fatso was like, well, yeah, you know what? It's not easy to use sometimes with the way gravity pulls it down. You're going to see Toad. I don't know if he was going for a bomb skip there or what, but Toad falls right in front of the boss door.
Into that bomb, sometimes, I think if you jump into the bottom half of it, you will basically bonk, and you'll immediately start falling down, just like if you jumped into a ceiling. And, well, that happens if you're not ready for it.
So but it looked like he brushed up against the side of it, though, and got all the way up. He just didn't get on top of it.
I do want to comment on one other thing I saw Prissy say in chat a little while ago. Prissy, I believe, still has record in this game, or at the very least is very, very good at it. But noted that Zoda actually only started really playing 4, 5, and 6 about a month ago. So probably the run up to this tournament, basically learning the 8 robots. So maybe not as bad as I'm thinking that he's having a rough 4, 5, and 6.
That's true. It's hard to separate Zoda and his Mega Man 2 prowess from his ability to play some of these other similar but still very different games.
There's a general assumption out there, if you can play one Mega Man game, you can play 10 Mega Man games. Even if it's not at top speed. Zoda always won, as we learned in the Mega Man 2 tournament, to just go for the strat. So I'm sure some of that's coming into play here. Looks like Toad had a good Blizzard Man fight, I'm guessing. didn't
Lots
see
of
how many
charges. Lots and lots of charges from Blizzard Man.
Blizzard Man, the major source of RNG from bosses in Mega Man 6. Depending on how many times he decides to ball up and invincibly charge you.
Zoda's getting his fair share now, too. But overall, I think he had a better fight than Toad. Doing his very best to make things interesting here in the final hour as they make their way through Mega Man 6.
It was Prissy or Papat Dot. I apparently got something very, very wrong, and I apologize. Papat Dot has Mega Man 6 right.
Yeah. Prissy is still very good at Mega Man games, though. You're not wrong about that. So both players are moving on to Plant Man now. We'll see if Toad can get a one jump on these gorilla tanks. I don't know what they are, but not quite. Pretty hard to get all 6 hits, I believe it is, in one jump. But I mean, everything in this stage is pretty hard. These springs, these enemies. There's some platforms where you can opt to do some very precise jumps off of them without opening them up, or you can opt to take some time to pop them open, usually with the buster.
The so-called plant forms.
And of course, there's pits waiting with all these fish enemies, the turrets.
Those fish are pretty deadly.
You can use the flame weapon in kind of a clever way. Oh, here's those jumps, and there's the fish! Oh, the fish! Wow, how close are these guys right now?
So with that, Zoda's in the lead.
Wow! Wow, wow, wow. He went for it, man.
He went for it. And perhaps in another case of remember it's a marathon, not a sprint, he went for that jump over the fish pit. I don't know if that has an official name.
It maybe just got one. I kind of like fish
these
pit.
Platforms at the end can sometimes you can just clip right off the side. There's so many things that can go wrong at the end of the stage.
Yeah, Zoda is playing it very safe. You can see he's actually not 100% sure. Oh, come on. He was on that spring.
I didn't even see what happened. I just saw he was respawning.
Yeah, he was a little too slow to start moving forwards. And just didn't clear the gap from one spring to the other.
Yeah.
That brief, glorious moment where ZodaNOR took the lead is now gone. Toad back in the lead, but obviously no one is safe yet. There's still a lot of Mega Man 6 to go, and both players are looking shaky. He's actually going to go back for fire ammo here, is Zoda, as Toad's dealing with Plant Man.
Again, Plant Man stage, the stage it would probably be the most useful in is the one where you get this game's Rush Jet, standard or otherwise. So it is not an option for making this part of the stage easier.
What I was going to say was it seems like Zoda is actually not even 100% sure which of these pits has fish that he needs to deal with. He hesitates in front of all of them, fish or no.
You can see him starting to move left, move to the right a little earlier this time.
It's so tough. You get so tense in this section, and it ends up working against you. And then they put this bouncing turret. What the hell were they thinking when they're like, yeah, no, this is fine. This whole section is, I mean, it's pretty hard, but you know what it could use? It could use a bouncing turret on a spring on a platform surrounded by pits.
This is the Mario Maker of Mega Man.
Really? Yeah. It's borderline Mario Maker.
So, Zoda seems to only be getting one hit in per cycle. I think he's trying to play it safe.
It's really hard to to use these blizzard weapon to hit Plant Man due to the way it appears behind you and then goes forwards. The absolute fastest way to do it is to get right next to him and turn around and hit him with the right as it spawns. But obviously that involves you getting pretty close. Oh, he got in front of it. He gave himself enough time to deal with it by sliding there. You know, he knew he had enough time to process exactly what kind of jump he needed to get over that plant shield. And then when he came out of the slide, I'm guessing his jump input came during the slide, because his jump input was just way too late to get over that.
Yeah, that was unfortunate, as he's back to being a full stage behind now. Fortunate he did not game over in that sequence.
Oh man, having to redo Plant Man stage would have been a heartbreaker.
We have quite the battle of attrition going on at this point.
At this point, anything could happen to Toad the same way, so it's still not over. But man, that still sucks to see. ZodaNOR finally getting Plant Man down, as Toad dealing with Tomahawk.
So
he's pretty low on life here, actually. No E-tanks.
I think you've probably already seen it. He wasted one use of Plant Barrier. I think he actually even completely stopped using it, anticipating maybe taking a death and needing it later.
I think you're right. And there is the death. The Tomahawk catches him in the back. Tomahawk Man does a lot of damage.
He almost came through in that fight too.
Yeah, but you wonder if he had gone for it and stuck with the plant barrier, would he have got him down fast enough that he would have outlived him? Hard to say.
Very hard to say, because Tomahawk Man, probably the hardest Buster fight, and Toad's still having trouble with Tomahawk Man.
Getting over those feathers is very tricky.
And Zoda now, just like that, up to halfway through the stage, so half of the lead gone again.
Yep.
Nobody wants to win this race.
Tomahawk Man interrupting Toad's charges, drawing the fight out and actually making it a little scary there, but Toad has the health to make it work and gets him down. But you're right, they are now half a stage apart, heading into the back half of Mega Man 6.
So with only 3 Robot Masters left for Toad, that 4th one's still hanging out for Zoda. It's still pretty tight. You know what? I'm just going to stop talking.
Oh no. The spoilers, the unintentional spoilers.
I'm not telling you what happened.
Something is going to happen. I don't even know who it's going to happen to, but something is about to happen. Watch it be some small thing that I don't even pick up on. And oh no, that's not a small thing. That is not a small thing.
The troll facepalm from over here once or twice, but
that is a big thing. Zoda just slipping into the spikes, showing some hesitancy with sliding in Mega Man 6. It's a little different than the other games. It's possible, you know, after having just played through 4 and 5, that 6 is just not coming to him the way he needs it to.
Yeah, when you try to jump out of a slide in Mega Man 6, pushing A will just stop the slide and completely stop Mega Man for a little bit. So it's one of those things you have to basically know exactly what's going on, even if a platform is 1 ride-in or 1 slide long.
Are you serious?
I know, right?
That definitely got to him. I don't know who you are that you can die in that same way twice and not just be thinking like, fuck me, god damn it. Like,
oh my god.
We'll see how you can deal with this stressful situation. Toad probably not doing too much better, honestly, mentally. Obviously, progress-wise, he's now a stage and a half ahead, with only 2 Robot Masters left to go. But death in the wrong spot, or 2, maybe is what it'll take at this point. And maybe we have something going on. But as it is, Toad is fixing to cruise to the finish line here. We'll see how Tomahawk goes for Zoda. Starts off with trading hits. The Plantman hitbox not quite as generous as some of the other shield weapons. But a beautiful fight from him.
Plant hitbox almost pulsates on you, which makes it very awkward to use. I don't think I've seen Toadman just completely stop and wait like that before.
I assume by Toadman you mean Toad?
I mean, he's named after a robot master. I don't care if
Is
he's a
he?
Mushroom Kingdom character.
I didn't know. I thought he... I like that, though. Toadman22484. You're right, though. Pausing in Nightman stage there. Incredibly safe. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's fair to say that it's safe and that it's incredibly risky to go for the damage boost to avoid the spikes.
True.
It is like there's no randomness there, so it's consistent at least. But when you're as shaky as these two players must be feeling right now, just standing and waiting for a little bit starts to seem like a really appealing option.
Toad's life, little troublesome looking, getting into the end of Nightman stage. Gonna have to be a little more careful.
Taking some hits in the springy section and from these charging floor spike guys. I like how that, like, throughout the Mega Man, they just like, you know those annoying spike things that move back and forth? Let's just make them bigger and bigger. In the Mega Man 6, they're gigantic. So now he's low on health and ammo going into the Nightman fight, who opens up with a jump. You do not want him to jump. You want him to stay on the ground. But then again, as long as he's jumping, he's not hitting you. So if you're in a low health situation, maybe you don't mind seeing these jumps. Now we're seeing Nightman's shield there.
At the end of that fight, he gets a chance to shoot him in the back.
Yes.
Dishonorable Toad there.
Yeah, well, when you don't have the shield-piercing Yamato weapon, suddenly the shield matters in front of Nightman. And, wow, I thought that was going to be a double KO from Zoda as he's dealing with Yamato Man. But it's not. He hangs on with one scrap of health as Toad moves in to the final stage, the 46th stage, Centaur Man.
Centaur-man.
Alright, we got Centaur Man. His stage is a crazy mishmash of water and birds and nothing at all Centaur-like. I mean, I don't know how you design a stage around the theme of Centaur. I guess I'd probably go, like, Greek marble columns.
Maybe. Zoda, please.
But yeah, water physics and spikes, which they like to throw those two together. Zoda taking the damage boost. Pretty low on health, though, since he had to get hit twice. We'll see how he deals with that situation. As Toad has to decide how risky he wants to be using the water ceiling thing. I don't know what is going on there, but it's happening. And decides to play it fairly safe, not getting crazy, basically. Absolutely the right decision, and making solid progress through this final stage. He's doing okay on health. Decent on ammo, maybe a little low. Waiting out those dropping enemies, having trouble with the ladder. think he's definitely a little shaky. But he's into the boss fight.
I'm not sure if Toad's been in any of the... Well, he's been in the mystery tournament, I'm sure.
I don't know.
Oh, no.
Well, Zoda's got a ton of health, so I'm guessing this oh no is with regards to Toad, who just got bodied by Centaur Man and got run down into the corner. He needs to dodge this last shot. The flash dodges the flash. No, then gets flashed. He's helpless, still alive. Whoa, gets the final hit on Centaur Man.
Surviving.
Look at the
I
bars.
really thought that last shot had him.
Look at the bars in the top left corner of the screen. No ammo, 2 health. Toad finishing it off late on the split. There it is. Toad finishing in first place with an SRL time of 2:00:11. Nice job hanging on there at the end. That was clutch.
Winning the marathon.
That's right.
This is one of those marathons where you run like maybe 20 miles and then you just walk and trudge for 6.
And you trip and fall about 10 times along the way. Thankfully, no spikes involved in real marathons. Though I would watch that. Man, that Centaur fight. As you can see, Centaur Man has the ability to flash like Bright Man, like Flash Man, and completely stop you there. I want to say this thing we're looking at is Kero Kero.
Looks like it.
Toad opting to go in a slightly different direction than ZodaNOR, and also Darko showed us a lovely dog animation yesterday. So everyone's got their own thing. I'm sure by the end of the tournament, absolutely everyone will have a thing they're ready to just put up on screen.
It seems to be the popular meme.
But if you wanna show your support for Toad and cheer for him, the best way to do that is to follow suit with some of these people in chat and throw up the OS frog.
Frogs aren't toads.
They're the closest you can get with the Twitch emoticon.
Okay, I'll buy it.
Honestly, if you can spot the difference between a frog and a toad just by looking at a cutout of its face, you're probably some kind of biologist. You subscribe to National Geographic.
By the same token, if you want to give shout-outs to ZodaNOR, and you have Frankerface Z, you can type in Lil Z. Big initial L, little I, little L, big Z.
I'm sure we're going to get some of that as Zoda lands the final hit on Centaur Man. He's crossing the finish line with a final time of 2:03:01. Finishing
GG
about
to both runners.
just a
in
little
the
under.
splits, at least. This is a 22-minute PB for Zoda.
Wow. Yeah, like I said, those splits were definitely not indicative of his abilities. And honestly, I would look for him to end up well under sub 2 by the end of the tournament.
Agreed.
So he ran into Toad early on before he had a chance to really polish up on some of those later games. And with the run Toad had, it's you know, he could have given him an opportunity to come up with a win here. But unfortunately, that's not the way things played out. The victory does go to Toad22484. Congrats to him. I'm going to check what we have going on the channel. There's so much stuff going on the channel, I can't keep track of all of it.
I think there's 2 more races of this category over the course of the night. I don't know if there's another match happening in here.
Yeah, we got matches. If Mega Man's what you're here for, if that's the thing you want, then you want to head over to Speedruns Live, twitch.tv/speedrunslive at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern. That's going to be in an hour and 20 minutes. And there is another good match. You got, I don't know how to say this, and I'm embarrassed about it. Is it Bicord? Is it Bico Red? Bico?
I think, I'm not sure myself. I'd go with Bicord.
Yeah, well, he's...
That would be Bicord and Casio?
Yeah, Casio third. Bicord is, I think, the record holder for Mega Man 5, and also has a very, very, very good time in Mega Man 4. I think he's kind of like...
Japanese runners in the tournament, too.
Yeah, that's really cool to see. And like Zoda, he focuses on those games. Like, he doesn't really have times on the leaderboard for some of the other games. So I don't know what to expect. Actually, wait. Am I lying?
I'm now intensely interested in this matchup because that's my group.
Yes, vested interest. Mr. Cab, looking out to see what his opponents are gonna be like. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Pico Red, Bicord. Yeah, Casio also very good. I'm talking about Bicord and not giving him these shoutouts. Bicord.
I'm seeing several people in chat say Becco Red.
Becco Red.
I'll go with Becco Red.
Becco Redo. If I wanted to be slightly racist. In the spirit of Tomahawk Man, I figure it's okay. Anyway.
As long as it's good fun.
It's going to be a good race. And it's really cool to see a Japanese runner be a part of a largely English-speaking event. So if you want to cheer for him, or you want to cheer for the underdog Casio third, you want to go to Speedruns Live in an hour and 20 minutes. And then sort of concurrently, if you want to see two matches with two different commentators that are desynced by an hour, you can come back at 9 p.m. where Darko is going to be facing Too Good at 9 p.m. on this channel, Speed Gaming. And that is your Mega Man for tonight.
Well, if I'm looking at the calendar right, is there a Super Metroid match here?
There is.
At 7:30?
In between now and the Mega Man at 9. Well, the reason we're not doing the Mega Man 8 here is because of the Super Metroid. And that's going to be at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. So
I do need to really plug Super Metroid Double Anti-Bingo. Super Metroid Bingo was a love of mine when I first started speedrunning way back in 2013. And, oh man, the Double Anti-Bingo is great. I highly recommend it to anybody who's watching this if you need to kill some time, either between, the start of that Mega Man run, or if you just want to watch it in general. I mean, God, it's fun.
Yeah, there's some really, I don't know Super Metroid the way that the bingo runners do, so, the routing decisions, I can be like, well, I don't know, the Norfair is pretty far away, so I don't think
Well, the more fun aspect of the Double Anti-Bingo is your opponent chooses a row you must complete.
Yeah.
So it's not like the normal bingo, oh, I'm just going to do this because it's easy.
Do what I know.
You're gonna get hosed.
If you can find a blind spot on your opponent, like some of the tiles force you to do very specific tricks, like skip grapple beam and collect spring ball means that you have to do an ice clip, and if you don't know how to do that ice clip, you're kind of screwed. So it's a really challenging and interesting interplay there with the double anti-bingo format, and the commentators they do a great job of communicating what's going on, and even if they get confused, chat usually has lots of input. It's a great experience. So if you want to see Super Metroid, I don't think we're going to leave the channel up. It's in about 45 minutes, so I think we are going to go down and come back up later. But Super Metroid is going to be at 7:30 in 45 minutes on this channel. After that, it's going to be back to Mega Man Dark Omega versus Too Good. And if that's not fast enough for you, if you want more Mega Man, you want to go to Speedruns Live in an hour and 15 minutes, now that we've taken 5 minutes to wrap this up. That's going to be Bico Red versus Casio third. And that is going to be a good one too. So you're screwed. You can't watch it all, but it's all going to be good. So check the VODs for the other one, I guess. And other than that, yeah, Mr. Cab, thanks for doing commentary with me.
Oh, thanks, Mythical. Yeah, I think you were handling the streaming work on this one?
Yeah. I was pulling the knobs and the levers and pausing the timer. That was me.
Thanks.
So good luck to you in some of your matches. Good luck to whichever of the two between Biko and Casio that you want to win for your sake. And yeah, we'll call it there. Oh no, we lost the timer. Now you're looking at something weird. It's the calendar.
So, yeah.
I blew it. I can't get it back. All right, we're going to cut the stream. Bye, everyone. Come on back in 45 minutes. We got Super Metroid. Cheers.
Have a good night, everyone.